John Burton. One Frank Calvert, who lived in the region, had already concluded that Hisarlukhaug was full of remnants dating back many centuries. Believing the area to be the city of Troy immortalized by Homer, he even drilled and probed small areas between 1863 and 1865. German businessman Schliemann, an Iliad enthusiast, visited the region in 1868, but was disappointed in the excavations conducted at Balladar in the Troad region. Before leaving Çanakkale, he met with Calvert, who advised him to conduct excavations AD. In front of us are the walls of Troy, Ilios. You can see the East Tower, the East Wall and its gate, and right behind them, the palaces, all of which are from the Troy 6th phase, 1430 BC to 1300 BC. On top of the defensive wall are the remains of houses from the period Troy 7. The total circumference of the wall during Troy 6 was around 550 meters, of which only 330 meters are still preserved today. It is most likely that Troy 6 was destroyed by an earthquake in 1250 BC, and Troy 7a and 7b by fire around 1180 BC. Behind you extends the lower town of Greek and Roman Ilion. To the north are the Dardanelles, and to the west is the plain of the Karamenderes River, the ancient Scamander. On a clear day, you can see the peaks of the Kazdağları, Mount Ida to the southeast, the burial mound of Uvecik-Tepe to the southwest, and on the Aegean coast a bay, Beşik Bay, which appears as a depression. Around the 13th century BC, the monumental East Tower was built outside the wall. This 11-meter wide tower projects 8 meters from the face of the wall, and the eastern wall of the tower is around 3 meters thick. The tower consisted of 2 stories, divided by a wooden floor. There is only one entrance to the tower, located on the 2nd floor. Palaces 6E and 6F, the outer walls of which are 1 meter thick and oriented towards the center of the citadel, are roughly 64 and 98 meters square, trapezoidal in plan. The recesses in the west wall of the 2nd floor of Palace 6F are remarkable. On the floor are stone bases for pillars. Building
the eastern wall. Sixth period of Troy.
Areas excavated by Schliemann and Dörpfeld belong to the Temple of Athena. With an area of 36 by 16 meters, the temple was surrounded by a Doric colonnade supporting a coffered ceiling. The most famous of the reliefs decorating the beams of the temple is the one depicting Apollo Helios, currently on display in Berlin. It is reckoned that the temple was built by Lysimachus, Alexander the Great's successor, around 300 BC, and recent research shows that the temple had been completed by 240 to 30 BC.
And this is the Troy one, the first, about 3000 BC. Sorry.
Citadel Wall, Troy 2 and 3. This citadel wall, known as Schliemann's burnt city, was destroyed in a fire. The remains from the Troy 2 and 3 periods date back to 2550 BC to 2200 BC. To preserve the original mud brick material of the inner part of the 4-meter tall wall, a reconstruction of the same height was built in a later phase. In the reconstruction, which made use of handmade and fired mud bricks, the upper and outer parts of the wall were indicated using the colour red. Directly behind this section is the mud brick megaron, house with porch, with a stone foundation which was excavated in 1998 to 99. The wall of this building, which was unearthed in the excavation, was constructed in alignment with the citadel wall. It is up to 1 metre in height. This mud brick building, together with a part of the citadel wall that has been selected for preservation, was opened to visitors in 2003 after installation of a protective roof. This was done without any damage to the original ruins. The protective roof also shows the original height of the mound before excavation work was undertaken by Schliemann in 1871. The sail-like form of the roof is an allusion to the northeast winds that enriched the city of Troy, which enjoyed numerous geographical advantages. Sailors back then, who were not aware of the upwind sailing technique, had to wait in Beshik Bay for favourable winds before they could set sail for the Black Sea. The fact
Schliemann's Trench.
out for its grandeur and position must have served as the main gateway. It is believed that a ramp was used to bridge the slope between the settlement and the road. The citadel of Troy too was destroyed by fire, leaving behind a 2-meter deep layer of ashen residue. To your left is the Troy 2 gate. The treasure had been deposited within an old tower and was covered over completely during the construction of the ramp. Because of the burnt layer and the ramp known as the Cian Gate, Schliemann believed that the city of Troy too was the Troy that Homer had described. It was only in 1890 that he realized his dating was out by 1,250 years. More than 20 items from the treasure of Troy are exhibited in 8 museums in 7 cities throughout the world. Following the Second World War, treasure that had been illegally removed to Berlin was rehoused in Moscow and St. Petersburg. of the area. Standing on the fortification walls of Troy 6, when you look down, you will see the entrance of Troy 5 and 6 that was excavated by Blegen in 1937 and 1938. This gate was used then because the gate to the city in the late Bronze Age, Gate 6U, was closed up, probably for the purpose of security. Sanctuary, Troy 8 and 9. Judging from both ancient sources and the findings from excavations, Troy was an important religious centre in the Greek and Roman eras. The religious precinct before you was probably constructed at the beginning of the 8th century BC by rearranging the remnants of the lower cities of Troy 6 and 7 and enclosing the area within a wall. The sanctuary continued to be used throughout the Hellenistic and Roman periods, with repeated modification of the walls and remains. In early periods, a limestone altar stood at the centre of the upper part. You can see a semicircular wall under another altar, and the sacrificial pit, both of which stem from the later period. On the lower slope of the sanctuary there are two more altars, one from the Archaic period and the other from the Hellenistic period. Also visible today are sacrificial pits and wells. A neatly constructed north wall dating back to the Hellenistic period rises in front of the defensive wall of Troy 6 in the upper sanctuary. Both parts of the sacred precinct seem to have been restored at the end of the 4th century BC, very 13th century BC. You can see the sturdy stone foundations of densely packed houses that lie on both sides of the stone-paved road leading to the citadel. Excavations in the two-storey terrace house with back rooms, the foundation plan of which Odeon, which was intended for events such as theatrical performances and conferences. The Odeon, known to be built in honour of the visit to Troy in 124 of the Emperor Hadrian, who reigned between 117 and 138 BC, has an orchestra with a skene stage building in which stood an over-life-sized cuirass statue of the emperor. The semicircular orchestra is bordered by a wall of limestone blocks divided by oval aisles. The architectural ruins surrounding the Odeon include a bath constructed at the time of the Roman Empire. The Odeon, bath and Bouleuterion nearby lie at the end of the Agora, the marketplace, the heart of the city's public life. Behind you stands the citadel wall of Troy 6 and a pillar house from the same period. The south gate of Troy, Troy 6 and 7. You are standing in front of the south gate of Troy 6. All that remains today of the gate that is assumed to have been the principal entrance to the citadel is the road leading up to the citadel. Right in the middle of the road, paved with stone slabs, runs a drainage channel beneath the stones, probably from the Troy 7 period. The south tower, built adjacent to the citadel wall over the bedrock in the later period of Troy 6, is reminiscent of the east tower. Although the south tower once measured 10 by 9 meters, only a 2-meter high portion has been preserved. Right in front of the tower stand several stone steles, evidence of a typical ancient Anatolian gateway cult of Apollo or Apollonius. To the left, the pillar behind the south tower shows us the location of the pillar house. With an area of 27 by 12 meters, this was one of the largest houses in Troy 6. 2 pillars that most probably stood in the hall of the house supported the ceiling or the second story. The most common find from layer 6 is grey pottery. Troy 8 and 9. Part of the Bouleuterion of Greek and Roman Ilion, which we are now facing, was constructed on top of the walls of Troy 6. The building was enclosed on all 4 sides by a wall, so that council could conduct its business in private. The 100-meter by 100-meter portico flanking the Ilias Sanctuary of Athena in the Acropolis had 3 facades. This portico, along with the Temple of Athena and the new city wall built between around 250 and 150 BC, is part of the architectural project that was intended to enhance the splendor of Ilion.